Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celebrating Black Excellence. I'm your digital host, Carlton T. Clay. Our next guest is an author and playwright. I present to you Donna Hodges. How are you doing today, Donna?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being here on Celebrating Black Excellence. We definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to talk with us today. I want to get started. Obviously, you guys see that she has these 3 books here, so we'll get started on that shortly. But I'm going to start with your beginnings. How did you get started with writing?
So it's a funny story because I was living in Baltimore at the time, and I was literally going through Patapsco River Parkway, and I just heard all this jibber jabber, and I was like, "What is that?" So I hurry up and got to work, and I just started repeating myself over and over until I got to work. And I just started writing it down, and it wouldn't stop. And I got to like 40-something pages deep, and I'm like, "What is this?"
Okay.
And I was doing it all on PowerPoint back then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now you're also known in this community because you've done plays, you've had books, but you're also known in this CSRA community as Portuguese.
Yes.
So can you please tell us, how did you get that nickname?
So when I was born, my uncle, who just passed away in October, Mr. David Wright, said I looked like a little Portuguese baby. He said I was bald head and had one string of hair at the top of my head, and my eyes was kind of slanted. And he said I just kept all this jibber jabber coming out of my mouth. So he called me Portuguese. And so I have been known as Portuguese since.
Okay. Got you. Now, again, as I mentioned, you are also a playwright. You're an author. You've done plays here. I'm Sorry, Mama, Stepping Out, and most known for Excuse Me, Miss, But I'm in Love with Your Husband. What made you want to get into playwriting?
When I was in elementary school, I wrote a screenplay. We had to come up with something dealing with detergent. So I did a screenplay called Washi 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 in the Blue Cheer. And so we made our little props and everything, and I never thought about doing it afterwards. And then one day, as I was writing one of my books, I just heard in my spirit, this is going to be a screenplay. And I was like, wow. So yeah, I came from there.
Okay. What do you prefer? Because I know, like I said, writing, as a writer, I know that there are different lanes in writing, the different styles of writing. Which do you prefer? We're going to get into your books, obviously, briefly, but what do you prefer? Do you prefer doing the stage as a playwright, or do you prefer being an author doing the books?
Ooh, that's a good one. I love to write. So I seem to capture everything in my books more, but a lot of times when I capture them, I might hear in my spirit, this is going to be either a screenplay or a movie. So I write so I could cater to the audience, so that when they're looking at the pages in my book, it's almost like they're living it on the screen.
Gotcha. Now let's talk about your books that we have here. You have 3 books here. We have The Spirit That Dwells in Me, and then we have Spirits, Dreams, and Prophecies. Those go together. Then we have For the Youth Are Ruining Me. So let's talk about each one. Let's start with the one for the youth. Our Youth Are Ruining Me. Can you please talk about that book?
So about 10 years ago, I wrote this book, and it was different cover and everything. And I had some of the local kids on the cover to include both of my sons. They were young, probably 10, 16-year-old teenagers. And I felt like there was a need because of the way that the kids were 10 years ago, and how the baggy pants and all of that came about, and how drugs was just everywhere. And I felt like it needed to be talked about, and the kids needed to see this particular book. However, when I came back here from Maryland last year, I heard in my spirit, revisit the book, because the kids of today really need it. And so basically it's the good kids telling the not so good kids, the things that you're doing today are ruining my possibilities for tomorrow. So get your act together. Basically, that's how it came about. And it has a lot of different scenarios in there. You know, what good kids are doing, whether they're going to school, going off to college, or you have, you know, the bad kids doing drugs or skipping school or, you know, going to a lake that, you know, ended in a tragedy, you know, stuff like that.
Got you. And so then now we have the spirit that dwells in me. And you told me that these two go together, the spirit that dwells in me and spirits, dreams, and prophecies. So can you please elaborate on what the books are about and how they coincide?
Okay, so during the pandemic, I was sitting writing another book that I'm working on right now. And I heard the Holy Spirit say, pull up another screen. So I pulled up another screen and I'm writing. I didn't know what it was about. And it just, all of a sudden, he just started pouring into me. And then one day, if you notice on the cover of the book, there's a lady standing out in the field and her hands are wide open. The pandemic was going strong. It was around March 20th at the time. And all the churches was closed down and only 10 people were allowed to go. But that particular morning, I heard in my spirit, put your clothes on. I put my clothes on and as I was driving along, one of the deaconess, I met her along the way and she said, 10 people are already there. So I sat and I said, okay, I'm going and pay my tithes and offerings. And she said, okay, but by the time I got to the parking lot, I'm getting a tear already because every time I tell the story, it's just so truly amazing what God did to me that day. And when I got to the parking lot, two of the deacons came up to me and I told them, you know, one of the deaconess has already explained to me that, you know, it was 10 people, but I just wanted to pay my tithes and offering. He said, you know, one of the deacons said, you know, Sister Donna, you could take my spot. And I went in there, he said, because I believe there's a need, God has a need for you. I went in and I came back out and all of a sudden the Holy Spirit told me to go out into the field. And all I could think was two people are out in the field. One's gonna be caught up and the other one's gonna be left behind. I'm like, Lord, please don't take me. I don't wanna go yet. I'm not ready. I have so much to do. But then as I got in that field, he spun me around and the brightest sun that I could ever see, as you see how bright that sun is, there was my eyes. I got burn spots to prove it. I'm looking into a sun that was so bright that he showed me a cross that came down to like the shape of a sword. And on the right side was two darkened figures. And on the left side, it was a brass altar that was made of 3 poles. And it's not the type of brass or the type of crystal that we saw within with the cross. It was something that the eyes wouldn't even be able to believe. And it was just, you know, it was just so amazing what he showed me that day. And so that's how that book came about. It was the first part of a trilogy that the Holy Spirit had me writing. Spirits, Dreams, and Prophecies came after that. And that's basically about the Holy Spirit was waking me up to dreams. I mean, full dreams. And he had me capturing these dreams. And he had me writing them down. And then he would show me spirits. One of the spirits are captured in here. I was in Maryland and I had to go back to work. And as I was getting ready, I was frying some chicken and I got ready to run in the kitchen, and standing at my back door at my shades was the spirit. And I got scared and the Holy Spirit said, don't be afraid. It's a peaceful spirit. He said, go and check on your chicken. And I was afraid because I had never seen a spirit that close. So he said, go move the shades. And I moved the shades. And I'm looking outside because at the time, it was kind of dark. It was like rainy, you know, but underneath the shades is this big glow. And it scared me so that, you know, I kept calling everybody. I moved from that place for one. I had to move real fast because I was scared. And, you know, the prophecies came afterwards. He was telling me certain things, like the power of 3. I won't quite mention what they are, but he talked about the Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. He talked about the sun, moon, and stars. You know how I'm always capturing the sky. I'm always looking into the sky because he's always showing me things in the sky. So the other prophecies that's part of that power of 3 is in this book, but it's devastating because it's talking about what's going on right now. Beforehand, I started writing this in 2022. It talked about Texas, California, Florida, how all the storms was gonna come up and just like be so much destruction and chaos. And he said that between the year 2023 and 2033, it'd be so much destruction and chaos that people would want to die and can't. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that, for sharing that. If people want to get more information about you or they want to get your books, how can they get that information?
So if they went to Higgins Publishing, that's HIGGINS, publishing, all one word, .com, or Donna Hodges, author, all one word, .com, you can be able to get any of these books from me. And actually, I will sign the copy for you.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. We definitely appreciate it. We definitely wish you the best on all that you have going on. And again, thank you again for sharing your story, and thank you for being here on Celebrate Black Excellence. We definitely appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and I greatly appreciate you inviting me over to the show.
No problem. Thank you so much. And I'm Carlton T. Clay. This is Celebrate Black Excellence. We celebrate Black Excellence every day. Have a good one.
You too.